Season 10 marks the end of our time in Helsingborg for this Building a Nation save in Sweden, but the save does not end there. At the end of this season, we will resign from being manager of Helsingborg and we will take a brand new job. And don't worry, you don't have to wait for the next episode to find out who that is going to be. I'm going to tell you in this one right at the end of the episode. I've only really got one objective for this season, and that is to win the Premier Division. We have won it once a couple of seasons ago, and I think we should be able to win it again. If you actually look at the previous seasons, we've not been too far off. We were just 2 points off last season. We obviously won it in that season there, which was season 8, I believe. We were not too far off again, 1 point off in 2029. Miles off the pace. Now, I'll ignore that. That one didn't happen. A few points off there as well. So we've been close quite a lot of times, and I think this season we should be good enough to actually win the thing. Obviously, last season we did finish second place, so we are in the Champions League, but we do have to go through some qualifying rounds, which is fine because I'm hoping we don't make it to the Champions League group stage and instead we get knocked out and end up in the Europa League or even the Europa Conference League where we can pick up lots of coefficient points, because ultimately the next job that we will be taking will not be getting into Europe in the first season of our basically managerial kind of job there, unless we can take over somebody like Mjallby, which I don't think is going to happen. So we need to do as well as possible this season, because next season we're going to have absolutely no impact on European football, which is kind of a worry. We have obviously returned earlier than we normally would for our season, and that's because we've still got 2 Champions League games to play. We are currently in the playoff positions, but if we lose both the matches against Leipzig and Barcelona, we'll drop out and we'll be out of Europe. So we're going to jump forward to the other side of that. In fact, we'll jump forward to the 1st of February, which I believe is when the transfer window opens. So 2 matches played then. We lose 5-2 against RB Leipzig away from home, and then against Barcelona at home. Just a 1-0 defeat, but it is a defeat, meaning that we are not in the Champions League anymore. We have dropped down to 30th place in the table. There are no other Swedish sides in the group, so this could be the end of our kind of Swedish teams getting coefficients. Although Malmö finished 22nd in the Europa League, so they are likely to get another couple of matches under their belt. And we've got Landskrona, who have also finished in the playoff positions in the Europa Conference League, and I think that's it. It's not very good. I feel like we should be getting more teams into these competitions, and arguably they should be finishing a lot higher up, specifically in the Europa Conference League. One thing to mention, for those 2 matches that we had just played, we did not have George Lai because he returned to Benfica following his loan spell. He basically finished it before the end of last episode and then couldn't play for us for the next 2 matches, which was frustrating because he went back to Portugal, but it's fine. We did have a plan, which is why we brought our Brazilian striker. And so far this season, on the 1st of February, we've already done a fair amount of business. Players leaving the club. Ivica Tomaskovic has left on a free transfer. He's gone over to Norrköping. Niels Gudmundsson has also left on a free transfer, signing over for Göteborg. For potentially up to £230,000, Weston McKennie has moved over to Turkey. He played a fair amount of football, but we just weren't really getting the use out of him, and I kind of thought, you know what, he's getting paid a lot of money. Let's shift him on. This one stung. This one definitely stung. Nelson Gonzalez Martinez, our number 1 goalkeeper for last season, and I believe the season before, has also left the club. He's moved over to Vigo for not a lot of money, 400, possibly going up to £500,000, but we do have a little bit of a sell-on in there, which is why the fee was so low. And the big one is Jan Zumburek, a player who we brought in, I believe, on a free transfer, £49,500, and we sold him for £1.7 million. This is just silly money. It's free money, isn't it, basically? We didn't really play him. He played just 10 times, getting 2 goals and 3 assists, but moving him on for £1.7 million is a lot of money for a player who's already 30 and will be 31 in just, 13 days' time? Joining the club then, in no particular order, in fact, in a particular order, from the cheapest to the most expensive, Gabor Molnar is a 21-year-old Serbian central defender signed on a free transfer from TSC. Nicolo Fagioli has also signed on a free transfer. The Italian international, with 2 whole caps to his name, was released from Juve, I believe and he basically just didn't play for them last season, and we've picked him up on a free transfer, which is good. He's not really played a lot of football since playing for Bologna on loan, but I still think he's not a terrible footballer. He's going to obviously play a lot of football. Ignore the fact that he's on nearly 40 grand a week. We kind of have to pay a lot of money to get some of these big international players into the club. For £54,000, we have signed a youngster in the shape of Dominik Jedinak, an 18-year-old Czech defensive midfielder realistically. He's come in from Vyskov. He looks pretty good, obviously one for the future. And because we lost our number 1 goalkeeper, we had to bring in a new number 1 goalkeeper. And Axel Solvol, that's his name, has been brought in to be our number 1 goalkeeper, signed from Stormskodet. Definitely not how it's said. For 425, I think possibly going up to 500, maybe not. I think he's a good young goalkeeper. I wanted to get a Swedish goalkeeper, okay? Couldn't find one. We went for the next best thing, which is a Norwegian goalkeeper. Doesn't really work for building a nation, but it does work if we're saying we're trying to build Scandinavia. It's not a thing we're doing, though. So that's the business so far. Obviously, the window is literally just opened. So we've brought in 2 million. We've spent just under £500,000. We are going to go forward to see what other transfer business we can do. From a competitions perspective, we know we've been knocked out of the Champions League, so we don't need to worry about that. We've got the Swedish Cup. I'd love to win that as well, but I feel like we're never going to win this. I mean, we have won it, technically. We've won it twice. But I feel like it's just one of those competitions that, because the way that it works, it mostly happens in pre-season, I kind of forget its existence. So we're going to go forward to the end of the transfer window, see whether we have managed to get to the final of this thing, and see what other transfers we've managed to do. It's not been a particularly busy transfer window, to be honest. We have managed to sell Alexander Nilsson, the 29-year-old Swedish midfielder, has gone over to Rosenborg. He has left for £235,000, much like the player that we had earlier on in this this season, that we brought in for cheap and sold for a lot of money. It's just free. It's free money. It's free money. It's all profit. And joining the club, 3 players. Pedro Costa is the first one. He's a left-back signed on loan from our feeder club, FC Porto. I felt like we needed to strengthen our left-back position a little bit. Pedro Costa was available and very good, so he has come in. We have also brought a returning player back to the club. Amish Pineda has signed once again from AC Milan, or Kasavat. He never really played. He did get the odd game here or there. We brought him in for £525,000, but we did have a 50% sell-on in there, so half that, and that's actually how much money we spent on him. But our best signing is Mikey Moore, the Tottenham youngster who played 17 times, scored 4 goals, now 24 years of age, can play anywhere across the attack and midfield positions or even a striker if we need him, has been brought in on a free transfer on £42,000 a week. Now, the big thing with Mikey Moore, he's got high potential. I think it's common knowledge in-game that Mikey Moore's got like one of the highest potential, but he never gets the game time at Spurs, which means sometimes he doesn't really hit it. Now that he's going to be getting constant game time, yes, he is 24, so he's kind of maybe should have got a bit more game time earlier on, but he's good. So Mikey Moore might turn into a world-class footballer playing for Helsingborg, and we paid absolutely no money for him. And that is it. We have also got a whole bunch of loan deals. So Weiland, Barchen, who else we've got? Antonio and Bart. We've got Nordstrom, Asuji, Pearson, Boskert, Asp and Schwartz have all gone out on loan to various clubs, but basically we don't really care about them. And I'm not sure whether there are any names here that are kind of worth looking at. I think this guy might have played a couple of times, maybe not, but they've all been released at the end of their contract. In the Swedish Cup, we did not make it to the final. However, we did get past the group stage, winning twice against Stockholm and GAIS, but then drawing with Elfsborg. In the quarterfinal, we lose to BK Häcken, and that's basically where we finished that one. We're not going to win the Swedish Cup again with Helsingborg. We've won it twice, so that's good enough. It does mean now that we only have to focus on the Swedish Premier Division. Obviously, Champions League will kick in halfway through the season as well, but we're not there at the moment. So, tactically, I'm not going to lock in anybody this season. However, if we have a quick look at our best 11, this is what they believe is our best 11. So, Solvol will be our number 1 goalkeeper. We've got Costa, we know, will be our left back. We've got Henrik Bergman, who I said a few seasons ago that he kind of didn't get into the starting 11 because of, I think it was Rudy Usman was kicking him out. Bergman can now get in there and is turning into a very good player. We've got Cedar Sholid, who is also a very good defender. Daniel Gabriel, the Nigerian international, is getting a lot of game time now, which is good to see. We've got Ackerman still at the club, 30 years of age, still getting lots of football by the looks of it. And Mbassi, 23-year-old Cameroonian international, he's good. I like Mbassi. We've also got Mikey Moore on the left. We've got on the right-hand side is Victor Gomez, the 24-year-old Colombian, who I'm not convinced he's any good. Okay, we spent a lot of money on him. We spent £3 million on him. It was probably too much money, but he's there. We've also got Petrov, he's good. He's just very good. He's basically a big upgrade on Lundberg, who we had in the first few seasons. And then Marcos Leonardo leading the line. Obviously, last season we had the guy from Porto or Benfica. Now, this season, it is going to be Marcos Leonardo, most likely playing every game up front. I think we've got a pretty strong side here. We've also got players like Bergvall. He's very good. He's not good enough to get in the best 11. We've got Lewis Hall, he's weird. I'm not sure if he's good or not, but he seems to score a lot of goals from penalties. That's fine with me. We've got Fagioli, we know. We've got Voikan as well, who's also a very good young defender. We've got lots and lots of very good players. Pineda, who we brought into the club, isn't good enough to get into the starting 11. I think this team is very strong. It's also very big. Ignore the fact that we've probably got about 15 too many players in our squad. Most of them will get dropped down to the reserves. So then let's jump forward to the midway point of the season, see how well things have started in the league. and hopefully we're at the top of the table. That's what we need to be doing. We need to be winning the league, and hopefully that is what we're going to do. Well, it's not started particularly well, has it? We are currently third place. We are 5 points behind Malmo. We've lost 4 matches. Djurgården, Sirius, Landskrona and Norrköping we have lost. We've drawn with Häcken and then 10 wins, including a win against Malmo. So, I mean, the fact that the 2 teams ahead of us we haven't lost against shows that we are losing against teams we really should not be losing against. I believe it's Sirius. Sirius are down there 11th. They're the team that we should not have lost to. If we won that game, it would suddenly look a lot nicer. This looks like a 3-horse race at the moment for the title. Unfortunately, we are third. But Marcos Leonardo has scored 13 goals so far and is now out with a hip injury. That's annoying. He's had it for a month as well, so he's missed a few matches, but he's currently top goal scorer in the league. We need to get him back, get him fit again, and then maybe we can turn things around. A bit of transfer business has also taken place already. Stephen McAllister, the Northern Irish international, basically wasn't getting any game time now. He dropped to our 3rd place right winger. He's been moved over to Apoel in Cyprus, I believe, for about £50,000. Yeah, £45,000. Didn't really play after maybe a season or 2. And for the rest of this transfer window, we've still got £8.8 million to spend. We're only halfway through our wage budget. We've got £300,000 a week of wage budget to spend if we want to. I don't want to spend it because if we're leaving at the end of this season, I want to leave this club in a really good financial position. So whoever takes over can then ruin it. I don't want to be the one to ruin it and just break them completely. Whoever comes in can spend £50,000 a week on a good striker, £50,000 a week on a new right back, things like that. And it's not going to kill the club. Whereas if I do that, they then don't have that kind of wiggle room to spend any more money. I say those words out loud now. Watch me go forward to the 1st of September and see how much money of that 8 million I've spent. Although we're not going to go forward just yet. I'm going to have a look at the coefficients. So 13th place last season. Did we drop down? We did drop down, I think. We've dropped down from possibly 11th down to 13th place. Not good. Definitely not good. So we need to have a very good season this year in Europe to basically rectify that. We are losing a 7.25, so we're losing a low number. If we can get an 11 or a 12, that's actually very good. That's actually very good because right now we're going to move up to 11th place without any points on the board. If we do some really good point scoring, we could move up to 10th. It is certainly possible that we could move up to 10th place. Right, let's go forward and find out how well things have gone over through the summer transfer window and watch me spend £8.8 million on players we don't need. Now, technically, our transfer budget has kind of gone up a little bit. Our wage budget has gone down, or our spending has increased, but I have spent possibly too much money. I think I've spent about £6 million. And I think I've brought in 5 players in total. Tomoya Matsumoto is the first one, an 18-year-old Japanese goalkeeper signed from Fukuoka for £600, possibly going up to £625,000. He's going to sit in the reserves. He's basically one for the future. I wanted to make sure that whoever takes over has some decent youth players as well to kind of make better, feed into the first team, things like that. So yeah, Matsumoto is one of those. And then we've kind of gone a bit mad, okay? We've kind of gone a bit mad. For £2.3 million, we've signed Germano, a 21-year-old Brazilian right winger and right back from VIL. He's cost a lot, but I think he's good at football. In my head, I went, I don't want to spend too much money, but also, if I can spend the right money on the right people, this could help. So Germano is in. Another player who has joined the club, this time on a free transfer, is Rui Mauricio, a 24-year-old Portuguese midfielder, signed formerly of Gil Vicente. He was out of contract. We've picked him up, and I think he's a very, very good footballer. He's 6'4", so he's a big lad. He's obviously going to sit in that defensive midfield role in our formation, but whoever takes over might need a central midfielder. Mauricio could be perfect for that. We've also spent £3 million on Vladimir Nedeljkovic, who has joined from Partizan. And I think he's very good. He's only 23. He doesn't really fit the formation unless we put him in that attacking midfield role, which arguably maybe that's where he needs to play. So Nedeljkovic has joined from Partizan, like I said. He's played a fair few matches of football over the last few years. £3 million is good for a 23-year-old Serbian international. We've got one more player. And that is Milos Kerkez, the 28-year-old, or now 28-year-old Hungarian international, real life playing for Bournemouth. In this save, we brought him on a free transfer from Derby County. He moved from Bournemouth to Derby for free, who then got relegated, so he's playing in League One. For a player of this quality to play in League One football is ridiculous. The fact that we've managed to bring him into our Helsingborgs side as well is also ridiculous. The problem we have with Kerkez is I've said to him, I think you can see it here, maybe not, I said, I'm going to play you as a left back. Yeah, we're not. We're going to be playing as a right back. And that's because Costa will be playing as our left back. We're going to be playing Kirkes as our right back. I was kind of toying with the idea of maybe Costa plays on the right, but he can't play on the right, whereas Kirkes can actually play on the right. So I think it's probably the right thing to do. We obviously didn't just buy players, we did sell a fair amount of people as well. Stephen McAllister, we've already mentioned. Kalle Olsen, who was our number one goalkeeper for a lot of seasons, has left, signing for AIK. Now at 34 years of age, I think it was time for him to move on. Hagglund has moved on a free transfer. We've sold for £1.7 million. Henrik Bergman has moved over to Newcastle. This is also why we need to be playing Kirkes as a right back, because our number one right back has left and is now worth possibly up to £58 million. Steve Russell has moved over to Borussia Dortmund, a player that I brought because he was part Swedish and part Danish. I brought him in, I loaned him out, and then Dortmund went, we'll take him. Fair enough. Dennis Ali has also moved over to Djurgårdens for just over or just under £1 million. He's not getting the game time, basically. He was getting frustrated he wasn't playing. I've moved him on, I've kept him in Sweden, which was a big part of this deal. And another thing that we have done, which might not have been a good idea, is Abdullah Mane has left the club on a free transfer. He's been here for a while, but he hasn't been playing for the last couple of seasons because, basically, he's not good enough anymore. Yes, he's gone on a free. He was out of contract at the end of the season, and I went, just take him now. Just take him now. I have no plans to play him, and all we're going to do is pay his wage until the end of the season, whereas you can just take him now, and that saved us a bit of cash. And I think that is it. We've also got, obviously, a fair few loan deals. Gutierrez going on loan is actually quite a big deal. Hopefully getting some game time for Kalmar in the Premier Division. Anything else worth mentioning? Maximovic, maybe? No, I don't know why I thought Maximovic might have been an important one to look at. Yeah, so we've loaned out a few more people as well, basically. And looking at the competitions. So, we've been knocked out of the Champions League, which is good. We did well as well. We actually managed to get all the way to the playoff and then lost against Hoffenheim. So we beat Fenerbahce 7-3 on aggregate. We beat Celtic 9-1 on aggregate. We did beat them 9-0 at home as well, which was hilarious. I believe that's actually where we started. Yeah, we started off against Celtic, lost the first leg somehow, and then absolutely destroyed them in the second leg. Bergvall with a hat-trick, Mikey Moore also with a hat-trick in this one. In the Premier Division, we are still third place with a game in hand. So we have a chance to close the gap. We'll be on 47 if we win that game in hand. Just 2 points behind Malmo, 1 point behind BK Häcken. And I think the big thing is we are in the Europa League. Now, this could be massive for our coefficients for this season/next season, because I think we could win everything here. Depending on who we've drawn, and we can obviously see who we've got in our game time. So Europa League, it is Europa League. So Besiktas, we can win that. Ferencváros, we can win that. Midtjylland, we can win. Chelsea is a questionable one, maybe not that one. Copenhagen, we can win. Dunstredder, we can certainly win as well. So, and I think it's only 6. It's not 6. We've also got Lazio and Spurs as well. Okay, I think we can certainly win 5, maybe 6 of those games. I'm massively optimistic here, but I think we can win possibly 6 of our Europa League games, which is going to help out the coefficients massively. I also want to look, if we sort by nation, are we the only one here? We're not. Djurgårdens also in the Europa League. Have we got any Swedish teams? BK Häcken is in the Champions League. That's good. I assume that's just because they won the league. And then also in this one, we have got Hammarby. So we've got 4 teams representing Europe in Season 10. And I think there is one final thing for us to do this season, and that is to jump to the end of the season, which won't be the end of the season because of the Europa League stuff, but we're going to jump to around December, see how well we've done, have we managed to win the league, and also, where are we going to end up as our new manager? First of all, before we look to see what's happened in the league, in the Europa League, we are top with 6 wins out of 6. We have beaten Dunstredder, Copenhagen, we beat Chelsea 2-1, we beat FC Midtjylland, we beat Ferencváros and Besiktas. Yes, we didn't keep a clean sheet at all, but we are guaranteed to qualify for the playoffs. We've obviously got 2 more matches to play, which we will not be in charge of, by the way. We're going to resign today, technically, so we're not going to be in charge of those 2 matches. Whoever takes over will have to kind of basically do well, I guess, to see how well things progress in the Europa League for us. I want to have a quick look, actually, in the Champions League. BK Häcken are 22nd, 2 wins, Olympiacos and PSV, and a draw against Slavia Prague. That is good. If we then drop down to the Europa Conference League, who have we got? I should probably remember the name. Is it one team? It's 2 teams, isn't it, in this one? It's not. It's 1 team, and it's Hammarby, and they're down in 29th with just 3 draws. Karabag, Gil Vicente, and Puskas. I think there's actually 2 teams in the Europa League. It's Djurgårdens in the 8th. They've got 4 wins as well. They've also beaten Ferencváros and Midtjylland and Lazio, a team that we have also got to play. They've drawn with Spurs, another team that we have to play, and they did lose against Basel, which is fair enough. All in all, this is a good European campaign for Sweden. And it's also a superb end to our time in charge of Helsingborg. We have won the Swedish Premier Division for the second time. Did we just win everything? Did we not drop any points or not lose any matches? So, yeah, we literally drew a couple of matches there in September and then won everything apart from a draw against BK Häcken towards the end. In fact, the last game of the season was a 0-0 draw. If we lost that, we would have finished second. A 0-0 draw won us the league at home. Amazing. So I guess that brings our time in Helsingborg to a close. We're going to very briefly have a look at the overview. So we took in charge here. So in our 10 seasons, we got promoted in the first season, and then we basically just did all right, didn't we? We had a couple of bad seasons, but second place quite consistently. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times out of 9 seasons in the Premier Division, we've finished second place. We've also won the league twice. Should have won it more, shouldn't we? We've also got a new stadium, hopefully on the way. The estimated cost is 44.77 million, with 7.14 million more still needed. They're trying to get funding. Okay, fair enough. So there should be a new stadium being built in the near future, which obviously we won't be in charge of, but we will play there, in theory, in our next club. And just having a look, obviously we want to be in charge of arguably a Premier Division side. So if we go to filters, I know we're not going to be doing this at the moment, but if we go to filters, we've got Djurgårdens and we've got Hammarby are struggling. So Hammarby would be good. I'd like Hammarby. Djurgårdens not so much because they're already a pretty decent and established side. Djurgårdens, I feel like, could do with a bit of work. The other option is, however, if Hammarby, let's say, get rid of their manager and we drop down, and then we see here somebody else, maybe from this division, their manager gets promoted. Let's say the Elfsborg manager moves up, or maybe someone else, like the Kalmar manager moves over to Hammarby, or whatever. Something like that could happen, and then that basically opens some more opportunities for a different team in the Premier Division. I want to be in the Premier Division. I'm not saying I'm not going to drop down a league, but I want to be in the Premier Division. And I think with that then, we will resign at midnight as well, apparently. We're going to resign. We're going to say, yes, I leave. I want to go. Got no intention of changing my mind. Thank you very much. Incredibly disappointed. You'll be missed. And we are no longer in charge of Hammarby. In fact, we were never in charge of Hammarby. We're no longer in charge of Helsingborgs. Maybe we will be in charge of Hammarby when we go forward to find out who we take over in a second. Let's see who it's going to be. It is the 9th of February 2023, and technically the next season, season 11, has begun, but we are just going to finish this off here. We are in charge of Mjallby, a team who last season got themselves promoted from the First Division Elite as champions. And basically what I said was likely to happen did happen. So their manager, if we can have a look, find managers, it was Fredrik Samuelsson left. He went to Värnamo. I believe the Värnamo manager went somewhere else. I think he possibly went to Hammarby. He went to Helsingborg. There you go. He took over from me. So Tor Ole Skullerud has moved over to Helsingborg. He took over from me, which meant the Värnamo job was available, which meant the Mjallby manager moved over to Värnamo, and we then stepped in at Mjallby. And whilst we're looking at Skullerud, we will take a look to see how well Helsingborg have done in the Europa League. They lost against Spurs and they drew with Lazio, but they have... Where are they? They finished 4th. Okay, they have finished 4th. Djurgårdens finished 12th. So, they are still in the Europa League. Kind of annoying, because I feel like if we were in charge, we could go real far in this competition, but obviously we are not anymore. We're in charge of Mjallby. A Mjallby side, by the way, which is £1 million in debt and does not have a huge amount of wage budget or transfer budget to spend. This is most certainly going to be a rebuild for a couple of years before we can start actually trying to get into Europe consistently and actually making ourselves a team that can challenge for the Swedish Premier Division. What I will say is I'm not committed to being at Mjallby for 10 seasons. This might just be 5 years. I might get them good enough and then jump ship to another team who are kind of closer to where I want to be to help build this nation. So, for season 11, we will be in charge of a very broke and a very poor Mjallby, but that is going to do it for our time at Helsingborg.